What's going on, everyone? Data Report here for datareport.info with the Sunday, March 5th, 2023 Pandemic Update video. We start off today with one news report as there are no COVID positives or COVID outbreaks to report on today. A lion at the Potawatomi Zoo actually tested positive for COVID-19. Get this. The lion who was at the Potawatomi Zoo tested positive for COVID after it started coughing and became breathless. Zoo workers who had cared for the lion later caught the infection. So it is said here that two zoo workers who worked at the zoo ended up testing positive for COVID after caring with the lion. This is not the first time we've seen animals get COVID before. In fact, about a couple years ago, there were a bunch of deer, white-tailed deer in Pennsylvania that were found to have coronavirus. This last year, a study shows between October and December of 2021, this is what they're referring to here, researchers swabbed the noses of 93 dead deer from across Pennsylvania. Nearly a fifth of the animals tested positive for the coronavirus. So how about that? All right, today is a good time to bring up a reminder of the symptoms of COVID-19 since we do not have a lot of news to talk about. Oftentimes, people, they start to get sick. They feel, oh, I must be coming down with a cold or something, and they regret to do a COVID test. They feel, oh, it's just a seasonal cold. It's just a winter flu. It's just a summer cold. This, that, you name it. It's just allergies. That's the one I hear the most. Well, here are what the symptoms of COVID are. And remember, symptoms may appear between 2 and 14 days, despite that 5-day nonsense from the CDC where they say, oh, you need to quarantine for 5 days and you're good to go. No. It can be all the way up to 14 days. That's the way it was at the start of the pandemic, and quite frankly, it can still be that way now. So here's what possible symptoms may include: fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headache, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, or diarrhea. So if you have any of these symptoms continuously, it might be a good time for you to start testing for COVID. And that may include doing a rapid test at home, or you could even do a PCR test. And quite frankly, I think it's best if you do both, especially if you have had contact with someone. If you have had contact with someone who is positive for COVID, yes, they say wait for 5 days, but it's better if you wait up to about 10 days because you still could have potential symptoms. And I would test multiple times within that period, not only with the at-home test, but I would get at least one PCR test in that time frame. Now, these are just some of the symptoms. There are dozens and dozens of different symptoms of COVID. I mean, runny nose, that's probably the one that gets mistakenly the most. Congestion or runny nose, most people think, oh, it's just allergies. More times than not, COVID can be from a sinus infection. And believe it or not, here's another thing. If you break out in pink eye, there is a good chance that can be COVID as well. All right, moving on to the data aspect of today. Taking a look at wastewater. As you will see here, it's a general mixture of things across the country. But what you will notice the most is in the Great Lake region, we still have these areas of moderate to high transmission at wastewater sites. Michigan is the exception to that with low transmission going on there. We still have moderate transmission up in Maine. Then you come out here to Nebraska where you have moderate to high transmission across much of the state. California, you have moderate to high transmission in the Bay Area and then moderate transmission in Southern California. Down in the southern states, for the most part, things are not too bad, with one exception being New Orleans, where there is still high transmission. This watershed here in New Orleans has 389,000 population, and as you can see here, it is really trending upward, and that's because of Mardi Gras. Moving on here to today's transmission map from the CDC, no update, still 1,574 counties at high transmission. 874 at substantial, 604 are at moderate, and 170 are in low transmission. The dominant variant, you guessed it, XBB.1.5, which is at 89.6%. Taking a look at the latest update from New York State, 1,147 people have tested positive in the last 24 hours, 2.3% positivity today, with the 7-day average being 2.9%. Latest hospitalizations are at 1,696, and 187 people are in the ICU. Taking a look at Walgreens, and Walgreens shows today that the national positivity is 30.5%, which is down 1.5% from the prior week, which was 32%. Taking a look at some states, Maine is now dropping 37.7% in Maine, with the prior week being 40%. That's a difference of 2.3%. But if we zoom this in, which is important to do so, each time it drops, look what happens. The baseline's higher than the past. So that's not a good trend, and that's something we were showing you yesterday with the hospitalizations in Maine as well. New Hampshire positivity is now at 35%. That is up 13.9% from the prior week, which was 21.1%. We have rising positivity in Connecticut, which is at 30.7%. The prior week was 23.8%. That is up by 6.9%. Here's some good news. Pennsylvania is actually still dropping. I thought we might have turned the corner and we're going to start rising within the next couple weeks, but at the moment, there is a significant drop in Pennsylvania positivity rate. 21.4% this week, 29.7% last week. That is down by 8.4%. Meanwhile, just south of Pennsylvania, the positivity in Maryland is significantly rising. 33.3% this week, 25% last week. That is up by 8.3%. West Virginia positivity rate is up significantly. 41.8% this week, 29.7% last week. That is up by 12.1%. And as you can see here, testing is up as well by only 3. It's not a lot of testing, but 67 tests is more than 64. So yes, that is something we have to watch. West Virginia significantly rising. Kentucky, 33.6% positivity this week, 26% last week. That is also a significant rise, up 7.6%. How about Arkansas? Remember when we were watching Arkansas rise? Now Arkansas is significantly dropping, 26.9% this week, 38.5% last week. That is down by 11.6%. Wisconsin positivity is rapidly rising, 39.1% this week, 29.7% last week. That's a difference of up 9.4%. And, to make it worse, significant increase in testing. 760 tests this week, 714 tests last week. It's good to see more testing. It's bad to see the positivity continues to rise despite the testing. So I've said this before, this might be an area we have to watch for a potential new variant, and wastewater has been relatively moderate to high in this area as well. Let's do a couple more states. Montana, 33.3% this week, 25% last week, difference of 8.3%. California is dropping now significantly, 29.9% this week, 37.5% last week. That is down 7.5%. And finally, we end on Washington, 25.6% this week, 20.5% last week. That is up 5.1%. Taking a look at the United States hospitalizations, and as you will see here, hospitalizations are down to 24,925, and total number of ICUs are 3,138. Now taking a look at the deaths, 24 deaths were added in the last 24 hours. That makes the weekly total now at 2,317, which is lower than last week's total of 2,471. Alrighty, finally, briefly taking a look at some international COVID data. Germany cases are down 8%, deaths are up 12%. Russia's down 7%, cases are down 7%, deaths are up 4%. Taiwan, cases down 20%, deaths down 11%. Japan down 18% on cases and 18% decrease on deaths. Brazil, cases are up 54%, but deaths are down 61%. Austria cases are up 5%, but down 38% on deaths. Then you come down here to Poland. Cases are up 15%, and deaths are now up 100%. 84 deaths in the last 7 days, 42 in the preceding 7 days. Chile, cases are up 22%, but deaths are down 30%. And we will end today on the Netherlands. The Netherlands cases are up 73%. However, deaths were not reported in the last 7 days. Whether they have deaths or not, I do not know, but they are currently not reporting them. That does it for today's pandemic update video. If you like the content I do on my channel here, hit the like and subscribe button down below, and you'll be noted the next time I do a video. Alrighty, thanks for watching, and stay safe, everyone.